I'm gonna show you today a very small project, but I think a quite impactful one. We call it the Fractal Chapel. It's the St. Luke's Chapel in the State Hospital in Graz, Austria, which is a big hospital area, very dense area, and the chapel is located in the surgery clinic, which you see on the left-hand side on the picture here in the ground floor. To understand our approach, I want to tell you how we work. So InnoCAD is an architecture and interior design practice, but in our extended team, we also work with product designers, sound designers, scientists, and artists. And this was also the range of the team that worked on this very small project. The four conceptive elements were the helix as a form-giving element, as a symbol for life and growth, light, art, and biophilic design, but in this very specific project, fractal science, which I will explain more in detail later. So it all started with an invited conceptual competition that we won, and then we were provided this weird space in the existing building of the surgery clinic, which was very heterogeneous. So it had shafts in, structural elements, so it was not a room what you would imagine for a chapel. So we decided to introduce a second skin inside this room in form of a helix to cover all the technical equipment that we needed and that was already there, and acoustic elements and all supportive things. And we opened up the facade to the south on one side where it attached to the facade to bring natural light in. And this is the final layout. So you would enter so it's located in the main lobby of this surgery clinic, just beside the emergency room. And you would enter it from the main corridor through a narrowing alley, and then you would turn into the chapel, and then it opens up to a two-floor room height of 8 meters. And the footprint is only 6 by 6 meters. And behind this skin, we covered all this supportive technical equipment. But we asked us, as we were working with biophilic design since many, many years, we also wanted to introduce it here because we wanted to create, of course, a spiritual space, but also a serene space and a calming space in this difficult environment where, as a surgery clinic, where the small line between life and death is very obvious and anxiety and stress are common. So, but we couldn't implement natural plants, of course, because of hygienic reasons into the space. So we were doing research together with my wife, who is a doctor of medicine. What is the science behind biophilia? And digging deeper, we came across several scientific publications, and always one name was coming up, and this was Professor Richard Taylor, a physicist from the University in Oregon. And he did over 300 scientific publications about humans' connection with nature. And Anastasia contacted him, and since a couple of years, we are collaborating together and formed this so-called Science Design Lab, which enables us now. For us, it was revolutionary because we could now understand what is the science behind biophilia, the connection between humans and nature, and we could apply this as an added value to the built environment. Professor Richard Taylor has been studying the healing qualities of nature for more than 30 years. What is it about nature that triggers these remarkable effects? Fractals are patterns that repeat in different size scales, creating shapes of rich visual complexity. Richard started with a NASA-funded project that aim to keeping astronauts calm in the space. And his experiments show that adaptation to nature's fractals influences many stages of the human visual system. This has led to the fractal fluency model, which declares that human vision has become fluent in the visual language of nature's fractals, creating a decrease in the observer's physiological stress levels up to 60%, which is an enormous amount for a non-pharmaceutical product. And everyone knows what stress does, but just to sum it up, stress has impact of the brain with depression and mood issues, on the heart circle, on the skin, on the guts, and on the bones. So what are fractals? Fractals are patterns that repeat in different size scales in nature, like trees and clouds. Some of you might have heard about the mathematical fractals like Mandelbrot came up with, which you see on the left-hand side in this graphic. But what we are talking about are natural fractals, and they are called statistical fractals. So they are not repeating mathematically precise. They have mistakes in it and randomness, so they are self-similar and not exact self-repeating. And Richard did, with his team at the University of Oregon, did a lot of experiments on all people from all age groups, together with the University of New South Wales in Sydney, with the psychologists there. And the experiment showed that eye motion is fractal, allowing visual information to float in the eye. Then mRNA tests showed the brain activity, how they infect the hippocampus, and that the fractal fluency has impact on the pattern recognition and memory of humans. So they boost also cognitive qualities. And what it does when it comes to stress reduction, fractals lower the heart rate of the probants, lowers blood pressure, slows breathing, and muscle tension. So this was a short overview about this scientific experiments. And we decided, together with Professor Taylor's team, that we find application for the built environment. And to do this, we had to quantify the visual complexity of fractals in low D fractals, mid D, and high D. And the summary of all this shows that mid D fractals, as you see on this graph, the red graph, peak for the relaxation qualities at 1.5 as a mid complexity, and the stimulative qualities go up the higher the complexity goes up. So we decided to work with a mid-D fractal, and the team created a software that helped us to grow fractals with these qualities. It's based on a fractal trajectory, algorithmic trajectory, where we can design a seed and plant a seed and grow it in different size scales. And this is how this specific pattern that was used in the chapel was created. It has a fractal complexity D value of 1.5. And this is how it was applied to the inner skin of the space in form of a perforation. And this perforation casts the light and the play of light and shadow to the space from the natural sunlight while the sun is shining, but also with the artificial lighting concept in the space. And the last element was the altar provided by an artist, a sculptor, Manfred Ehrjautz, who crafted it out of an old tree trunk that he found. And this is how you enter the space from a very busy main entrance area of the hospital. And then you would move in through this narrow, low alley, and when you turn around, the space opens up to the 2 floors height, and it has only 3 materials: oak wood, the perforated white skin, fractal skin, and the material of light. And as the sun passes by, it casts this play of lighted shadows through the space. This is called dynamic fractals, very close to nature. And it moves around. And we designed these very simple benches following this helix form of the skin. And as the natural sunlight moves away in the late hours of the day, it mixes with the artificial lighting system that slowly takes over. And this is already the artificial lighting system when there is no direct sunlight involved in the space. I come to the final statement that was done by Pastor Christian Graf, who runs the chapel. He's an Anglican priest, but it's open for all confessions and for all people. And he stated, this was the inauguration, the chapel offers a counterbalance in our complex digitalized world, a place where people feel grounded and sheltered. Its nature-inspired design and the presence of the rootstock altar invite visitors to connect with life, with the eternal, with the divine, or simply with themselves. This space creates something that words cannot express. I feel part of something bigger. Thank you.
Mike, you're going to be first.
Thank you very much. I mean, I first say it is a very beautiful space, clearly, and the light. I've just got one quick question and then a point I'd like to make. The quick question is, what is the skin made of? What's the white? What is it?
Is it alucobond panels?
Oh, okay. Right.
That enabled us to span it 8 meters high without a lot of subconstruction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, my point really was that I'm just thinking about it from being somebody who would use it, and not for a user, a person who's going to go in there and so not for a ceremony or anything, but just because I want to get a bit of headspace. And the way you've arranged the furniture by putting it around the edge is very unconventional for a religious space. Say. Normally, you sit in rows, so you don't look at people. And my worry is that if you've got 2 or 3 people in there that don't know each other, they're kind of sitting, looking, staring at each other across the room. And is that going to relax you? I don't think it would.
We didn't hear comments about this. We actually wanted to break it up to have because we wanted to open it for all people from different confessions. And we wanted to avoid this frontal, setting from what you would know from a church, and make it more spiritual space, a refuge. And therefore is this circular, and also because of the size of the space, simply said, and that's why we put the altar in the middle, but it should not appear like a Christian or Anglican setting. It should be a room of serenity and spirituality for all people.
Thank you. I really like the wood color that you chosen and matched really well. I think the height of the ceiling really helped this chapel as well. So I'm assuming I'm going in with some kind of sorrow. I want to pray. I was wondering first if there's any research about sound absorption, because I imagine I want everything to be very, very, very quiet. So was there any calculation on that? And then the lighting as well. The space seems very, very energetic. Was there any other sort of lighting plan into this? If they want a different kind of feeling, how would you be able to change it?
Yes. Both good questions. We have a very effective sound-absorbing material on the wall, behind the skin. So the space is very acoustically very absorbing, which I think it's important in a space like this, that you don't have the feeling that it's, they have this reverb thing. And the lighting concept is a KNX system. So we have, I think, 3 or 4 scenes. So we have one scene for the ceremony, of course, but then when the space is, when there's no breeze there, when the space is open, we have a very dimmed lighting scene, and the lights are also slowly moving through the space, like the sun would do when it's shining in. And so it creates this serene atmospheric atmosphere. Of course, for the pictures, we had to show what the lighting can do, so it's the maximum performance, let's say, but during the regular hours, it's very subtle.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Couple comments and a question. First comment is, the project is really beautiful, but I think that over 10 minutes, maybe you shouldn't have dedicated 8 to Richard Taylor and maybe a bit more than 2 to your project. It's a bit of a kind of an imbalance. It's fascinating, but I think here we would have maybe want to see the consequences or the end result, rather than dive, however interesting it is, into this Professor Richard Taylor, Oregon researcher, which is fascinating, but again, that's the first point. Because the materiality, the light, the programming of the light, you were saying that you have natural light, which is obvious, but you have also artificial light. Yeah. How is it programmed? How does it work? That's one question. And I have another one. There's the question of the door. It's like you've taken and put so much care in the chapel, but the entrance process itself and the door seem to be like any other room of the hospital. And I was wondering if you had any opportunity to, or were you forbidden to intervene on the door? But was there a possibility there, maybe even in terms of colors, because it's a black door, metal painted door. So about the door question. And the last is maybe, I understood at the end that there's a reverend, but I didn't know if it was an ardent chapel, if it is a praying room, or are they actual religious process? Exactly. So just to those 3 points.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's an Anglican run chapel by an Anglican priest, but it's open for everybody. So it's a little bit both. It's a refuge, a spiritual refuge, but with ceremonies done by Dr. Graf. The door was the same issue for us. We really wanted to do it completely different, but it's quite complicating in a hospital, and there was an architect of record who did the renovation of this building, and so we had our space started immediately inside the door. We had a hard time to convince the client and the architect of record to do this glass cabinet, which is in front of it, where now Dr. Graf can display what's going on and communicate with people. So they wanted to have everything similar and same columns. So this was a little bit a fight that at least we got the glass cabinet there.
Is there a vestibule? I didn't understand if there's a corridor or something like a buffer between the chapel and the corridor.
Yeah.
No, you can't come back. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the main corridor where thousands of people would come in, and there was a column in front of the door that we extended to the width of the door with a glass cabinet to both sides to give it a little shelter, because not everybody is staring inside when it.
I wish we had seen a bit of that. Thank you.
There was one picture. Yeah, for us, it's, we are so excited about this scientific approach and I want people to understand it because I think it's really revolutionary for the built environment. That's why, yeah.
I have a really quick question. It's a really beautiful project. I was just wondering how many sides of it have natural light? Where is the actual natural light coming from?
It's only one side
Only
is
one
facing
side.
the facade where we introduced windows. There were no windows before. It was like a storage room. So we had to fight for the double room height. We had to fight for the windows. But it's it's actually facing south. So we have natural sunlight, let's say from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then the artificial light takes over when the sun passes by.
Is it incredible when you're inside? It feels like really magical.
Yeah, it's magical.
Yeah, it
So,
feels it.
and it's poetic, but you can also feel this cascade of physiological reactions to this, what I explained in long terms about this neuroscientific effect. And people, when we were there with friends, and people started to cry. I mean, it shouldn't sound pathetic. Or once I were there, and there was a lady who had a brain surgery, and she was still not in a good shape and a little bit confused. And then she started to talk to me and said, this is my little paradise. I come here every day. And so these are and interestingly also the team of the emergency room, which is beside, they started to use it as a de-escalation room for the relatives, when there's an accident and they are waiting what's going on. And they take them there with the psychologist and use it to handle the people in this exciting or these stressful moments.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask a fairly simple question, but I'm also interested in the light, what is natural, what is artificial. But it seems to me that in the plan, you use these vertical boards to stand away from the actual enclosure. So there is a space behind these walls which is quite varied. So I imagine that sometimes the space is very small, but sometimes it's quite big. So how did you, was that purely to create this undulating, immersive environment, or were you able to make use of these spaces? And how? Or what?
It was both. Of course, we wanted to create a calming atmosphere, and because there were shafts coming from the other floors and things like that. But we also had to do all this MEP and HVAC stuff, and it's all by code. So it was a long fight to convince them that we don't have direct HVAC outlets on the ceiling and on the facade. So it's hidden behind this perforated skin. It was also a long discussion because it's not standard and pipapo. So everything, the acoustic measurements, the lighting, the HVAC, all piping is all, and storage, of course, for the priest is all covered behind the
So it was actually a useful surface to allow the air changing to take place inside the space.
Exactly, and so you don't see anything in the space. You don't see any technical equipment. It's all behind the skin.
I think it would have been great to show a section at one point and understand the guts behind the skin, and understand also, because I guess that's where you have the lighting system. I'm coming back to the questions I asked, but to which I think you didn't respond, sorry. The question of the programming of the lighting. How is the programming programmed?
So we have these three, or meanwhile, I think four different lighting settings. There's a display in the chamber of the priest, and the lighting, when it's not a ceremony or not cleaning, the lighting is programmed that it slowly moves. So we have a KNX system, so we can steer every single lighting system, and so they dim up, others dim down, and it's slowly moving, similar to the natural
Okay, so it
daylight.
follows a kind of a sun NLM
Yeah.
movement. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Thanks.
So it-
are all the black marks in the photograph that we've got in front of us, the black marks on the white surface?
It's holes.
They're all holes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like lace, like a fabric with holes in it.
Yeah, it's a lasered alucobond.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.